Well, thank you, Grace, for that introduction, and I want to thank you for your wonderful land acknowledgement. I also want to thank you for the hard work you do as part of Humber's Indigenous Education and Engagement team. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to Humber Polytechnic. A special warm welcome to Minister David Piccini and Minister Charmaine Williams. We are honored to welcome you to Humber for today's important event. I want to thank you for your contribution and leadership and for the Ontario government's contribution of more than $3 million towards the expansion of our Centre for Skilled Trades and Technology that you're in today. We applaud your government's efforts to expand skilled trades training both here at Humber and across the province of Ontario. This expansion would not have been possible without your unwavering support and partnership, and for that we are incredibly grateful. I also want to acknowledge a few more special guests joining us today. Candice White, CEO of Skilled Trades Ontario, Natasha Ferguson from A Woman's Work, Zane and Braden Colt with their daughter Scotty from Conceivable Dreams, Hilary Buchan-Terrell from the Canadian Cancer Society. Skilled trades are the backbone of our society, from building affordable homes to supporting our schools, hospitals, public transit, roads, bridges, and powering our local economies. At Humber, we recognize the important role of higher education in building a strong and skilled labour market. The Centre for Skilled Trades and Technology is one of Humber's shining examples of innovation and progress. It's here where students learn not only the practical skills needed for a successful career, but also the critical thinking, problem-solving, and adaptability that define leadership in the skilled trades. Whether it's plumbing, carpentry, electrical, millwright, welding, industrial woodworking, or construction, the Centre is preparing a new generation of tradespeople to meet the demands of industries that are critical for our province. For far too long, we've been facing a growing problem in our province and across the country. Productivity, a core driver of economic growth, has stalled, posing significant challenges for our collective future. If we look back to 1984, the Canadian economy was producing 88% of the value generated by the United States economy per hour. By 2022, that number dropped to 71%. In 2022, the level of Canada's productivity, which is typically measured by GDP per capita, ranked 18th out of all OECD countries. Simply put, Canadians are seeing their standard of living fall in comparison to other developed countries. To address this challenge, we need to think innovatively about how to grow and diversify the future workforce. On that note, I want to talk about something that's both a challenge and an opportunity for all of us: the participation of women in skilled trades. Despite making up nearly half of Canada's population, women continue to represent only a small percentage of workers in the skilled trades. Imagine the innovation, talent, and perspectives we're missing out on by not engaging this potential. At Humber, we're determined to change this narrative. Through the hard work of our incredible faculty and staff, and through our inclusive programming and partnerships with industry and government, we're making progress towards creating an environment where women feel welcome, where they feel empowered to thrive in the skilled trades, and where they are confident in tackling Canada's productivity challenge head-on. Initiatives such as our Pathways to Skilled Trades program is helping to introduce a whole new generation of young people, including women, to the skilled trades. In addition, The Schulich Builders Program, which is Canada's largest skilled trades scholarship program, is helping to address the shortage of skilled trades in Ontario and amplify its importance and value to our community by awarding annual scholarships to students across Ontario, including right here at Humber Polytechnic. Last month, I had the pleasure in meeting this year's 10 recipients from Humber, 4 of whom were women. With our recently expanded Centre for Skilled Trades and Technology, we're adding 500 skilled trades training opportunities for pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship, and post-secondary students with facility upgrades and technology-enhanced learning. As a woman, I know firsthand that representation matters, and the skilled trade sector is no exception. When young people see their role models in the trades, women who are not only participating but excelling, they realize that these careers are open to them too. At Humber, we've already seen the incredible impact of women in these roles, whether they're working on job sites, running their own businesses, or mentoring the next generation. They are breaking barriers and proving that talent knows no boundaries. That's why we're proud of the success stories coming out of our Centre for Skilled Trades and Technology. They are proof that with the right resources and support, anyone can build a future in skilled trades. As our province invests in highways, housing, and other major construction projects, I can assure you that Humber Polytechnic will do its part to encourage more women into the skilled trades, where they can contribute their skills, talents, and energy to shaping the communities around us. To our students here today, and to all women interested in the skilled trades, know this: as you build a future in the skilled trades, I encourage you to take advantage of the resources excuse me, that are available to you here. Challenge yourselves and don't be afraid to push boundaries. Don't let anyone ever tell you that the trades are something you can't do. You are you, and the brilliant change makers of tomorrow that you are. And it will be you that will drive our future forward. Thank you to everyone once again for joining us here today, and I look forward to working with all of you to equip the next generation of skilled trades professionals with the tools they need to succeed and lead in their fields. It is now my pleasure to welcome our next speaker, the Honourable David Piccini, Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. Minister Piccini is a passionate advocate for the people of Ontario and a dedicated leader, and I can speak firsthand to that, having known the minister now for a few years. He is the MPP for Northumberland, Peterborough South, and has formerly served as the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, and was Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Colleges and Universities, where he worked on key files such as the Major Capacity Expansion Policy Framework. He also served on Ontario's Standing Committee on Finance and Economic Affairs, a position he held from 2018 to 2021. Minister, as I said earlier, we are truly grateful to have you join us today, and we thank you for your tremendous support to Humber over the many years. And personally, Minister, I know you're a champion for this sector, and we're so delighted to have you here. Minister Piccini.
Good morning. Thank you, Anne-Marie, and good morning, everyone. It's such an honor to be back here at Humber College, and thank you, Anne-Marie, for that kind introduction. I have known Anne-Marie for a number of years now, an ideas leader, a passionate leader, eloquent words, powerful words you heard from her about really defining the problem, our mission statement. It is a team sport. I'm doing this with everyone here behind me, and we are here for the people behind me, these young women going through trades college and here at Humber. We need to get more women in the workplace. That is the challenge before us. You heard Anne-Marie talk about declining productivity. That is the biggest existential threat facing Ontario today, and we're working hard to support women and to support families, and that's what I'm here to announce today. And I'm joined by Natasha Ferguson, as was mentioned, from A Women's Work. What a champion. Wait till you hear from her. Forget me. Wait till you hear from these speakers. The Colts, who are here with Scotty, Conceivable Dreams, who are doing incredible work. We're affectionately calling this bill Scotty's Law in honor of our youngest member who is here at the podium today. Hillary from Canadian Cancer Society, who's been such a champion for patients. Nadia, who's here to tell her healthcare journey. And it's about elevating voices like Nadia's, MS Canada, Crohn's and Colitis, Heart and Stroke, Canadian Cancer Society, Ontario Medical Association, colorectal groups, and so many more. These are the voices that have found themselves etched in the legislation that I'll be introducing tomorrow. And I'm joined by the team. As I mentioned, this is a team sport. Minister Charmaine Williams, who has been such a passionate advocate for women and a strong voice at the cabinet table, and a good friend. And Patrice Barnes, Parliamentary Assistant, who I've been working with over the past 7 months, not only a friend, but a strong voice for youth, young women especially, getting into the trade. So thank you for your work, Patrice, on this legislation. And of course, CEO, our new CEO for Skilled Trades Ontario, Candice White. This is a team and so many more. I'm honored to be here in, as Premier Ford calls it, the great state of Etobicoke. Very fitting given our upcoming negotiations with the United States, and appreciate his leadership and all he does for this community. His mission, my mission, our mission as a government is simple: make Ontario the greatest place to live, work, and raise a family. And as you heard, we have to be a more productive province. But how do you get at that? And Premier Ford and I believe in Ontario, where everybody has the opportunity to work hard, to earn bigger paychecks, support their family, and take pride in shaping their own future. Because we don't value a society that we passively inherit. We only value one you have an active stake in creating. That's what everyone here behind me is doing. These are the values that are instilled in a life in the trades. A job in the trades means you have a career for life, wherever that life takes you. And that's why we're here today. The provincial government will soon introduce legislation that, if passed, will grow Ontario's workforce and support the well-being of workers and their family. These proposals will support families by creating a new parental leave under the Employment Standards Act for adoptive parents and intended parents through surrogacy. As I mentioned, I'm affectionately calling this Scotty's Law in honor of Scotty, who's here today. Too often, adoptive and intended parents are left with little to no time to meet the demands of an adoption process. I know from constituents I serve firsthand how sometimes arduous this process can be. Attaching and welcoming the new child into their home, the biggest life-changing moment in their lives. So if passed, Ontario will have a new 16-week, she's excited, a new 16-week job-protected leave so she can spend more time with mom and dad. So you don't have to choose between being a worker or a parent. We're building a stronger workforce by bringing more women into the trades and breaking down barriers. That means ensuring personal protective equipment fits your frame. You heard from Anne-Marie. We're not going to build the hospitals, the highways, 413, Bradford Bypass, Ontario Line, 1.5 million new homes if we ignore 50% of the workforce. It was bad enough that previous governments drove manufacturing out of Ontario and drove those rewarding, high-paying jobs out of this province. We can't grow if we don't welcome women into the workplace, and part of that, it's common sense. It's common sense. I was speaking to some people this morning, and they said, really? You don't have that already? And the answer is no. Properly fitting PPE that fits your frame, and we're putting it in law. From a 2022 Canadian Standards Association survey, half of tradeswomen report that their PPE just doesn't fit. Over a third of tradeswomen report their PPE is designed for men. So they need to find workarounds like using duct tape or safety pins. I heard from a power line technician that she's using gloves too big, or wearing coveralls that you see the women behind us that are down to your knees or too big. This cannot be the new norm when we have to build. We have to build in Ontario, not for yesterday's generation, but for Scotty and for our next generation. And that's why in our third Working for Workers bill, we required properly fitting PPE for women in construction. And our next bill introduces requirements to ensure properly fitting PPE in all sectors, ensuring PPE fits your frame, putting an end to the days of pink it and shrink it, and we are delivering on our commitment from the latest Working for Workers bill to set out specific requirements for washroom cleaning records. A first in Canada measure under the Occupational Health and Safety Act to bring clean washrooms from Bay Street to Main Street. The same standards you expect here. And in Bay Street, when you see the washroom, the cleaning schedules and standards, we're bringing those standards to Main Street to ensure that we're supporting all job sites. Because an economy that doesn't work for women doesn't work at all. And a career in the trades also means no one gets left behind when you're sick. And this has been a profoundly rewarding piece to work on with those many voices I mentioned on the outset. In this next bill, if passed, we'll create a new 27-week job-protected leave for workers with a serious, critical medical condition like cancer, like multiple sclerosis, or Crohn's and colitis. This has hit some constituents of mine, and as Charmaine said when we were coming in today, people don't wear a sign on their blazer, on their shirt, on their jacket that says, I have Crohn's, or I'm battling cancer. This is often folks suffer in silence, particularly in a workplace. And this will be, when we introduce this, one of the longest provincial leaves in the country so that you can focus on getting well and getting back to work, not worrying about if your job will be there when you're back. And this will ensure sick workers can focus on recovery without worrying about losing their job. And as Premier Ford announced last week, our government is unlocking $400 million to invest in health and safety programs for workers and employers, including mental health, injury prevention, recovery, to ensure workers have the supports they need to return to work safely. It means more workers are coming home healthy and safe at the end of the day. Because if you're healthy and you're safe, if we're attracting more women into the workforce, supporting families, we drive a more productive economy so that we can build what we need to build for tomorrow's generation. These measures are part of our sixth Working for Workers bill, which we intend to introduce in the legislation tomorrow. And it's part of our plan to grow Ontario's workforce, keep costs down for workers and businesses, support the well-being of these workers and their families, and to deliver on our goal to make this the best province to live, work, and raise a family. I'm excited. Our best days are yet to come as a province, and under Premier Ford's leadership, we're building a stronger Ontario, and the job's just getting started. And now it's my honor to introduce a tireless leader for women, as I mentioned, our Women's Social and Economic Opportunity Minister, Minister Charmaine Williams.
Hi, everyone. You know, there are so many just juicy nuggets in this bill, and I think we all need to give Minister Piccini a round of applause and say thank you for working on this. Thank you, Patrice Barnes, for working on this. And thank to all of the voices of families who supported this work and who've contributed to this bill. You know, I want to say thank you to Minister Piccini and PA Barnes. You know, it's so important to have strong champions in government to make change. And today's announcement is another example of how government is taking action to help women build their careers and achieve financial success to support themselves and their families. By protecting parental leave and long-term illness leave for more workers who need it, we can help keep more women from having to choose between their careers and their families or their health. And by strengthening requirements for employers to provide appropriate personal protective equipment and better washroom cleaning records, we are helping to make workplaces safer and more inclusive for women. These changes will especially have an impact when it comes to helping women feel more welcome in fields where they are underrepresented, like the skilled trades. You know, as Ontario's Associate Minister of Women's Social and Economic Opportunity, my goal is to help women across the province succeed at home, at work, and in their careers. And it's so important that we empower women to succeed and that women know that they are supported in the jobs that they choose. This is particularly important to me. I used to work in the field of children's mental health a long time, and I worked with women who were in very dangerous, abusive relationships. And the main reason why they stayed in those relationships was because they could not afford to take care of themselves or their family. They could not afford to pay that rent once they've had the strength to leave their abusive partner. I don't want women to have to choose between their safety and their future. And I want to make sure that we are creating an Ontario that empowers women to get a job that pays well. And the skilled trades is that sector. And thank you, Humber College. Thank you, all of you, for what you're doing to show women that they can put on the hard hat and pick up the tools and get the job done just like any man. All of these initiatives build on the success, like the programs that I offer in my ministry, the Women's Economic Security Program and the Investing in Women's Futures Program. These programs help low-income women access education, training, and career opportunities in high-demand fields like information technology and the skilled trades. And combined with a suite of changes through our government's Working for Workers bill, they are a part of the actions across government to help women achieve prosperity for themselves and for their families. As we heard and as we know, women represent half of Ontario's workforce. We need women to build Ontario, and we need women who are starting now so that they are the future leaders in these sectors. We know that when leadership tables have women represented on them, the rest of the company has higher representation as well. And so this means that we are creating a legacy and a future for many women who are choosing to change the course of their lives now by entering into sectors like the skilled trades and STEM. So I am confident that the changes announced today would encourage more women and more girls to apply to jobs that we need to build Ontario, and would help ensure that they can be safe and protected in those careers. I'm excited, y'all. I know you should be excited too, because it means our future is going to be pretty bright. And together, I know we can build an Ontario that is so full of opportunities for everyone, because I know that when women succeed, Ontario succeeds. And now I'm going to pass it over to another fierce woman who is changing the landscape of women leaders in the skilled trades, but also creating opportunities for women to see her and follow her in her footsteps. Because if you can see me, you can be me, right? And so I'm going to pass it on to Natasha Ferguson from A Woman's Work to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. As someone who has spent years building a career in a company in the trades, I can tell you that the challenges women face in this industry go beyond skill or dedication. It's about working in environments that weren't always built with us in mind. Whether it's tools and equipment that don't fit properly or workplaces that don't accommodate our needs, these are obstacles that shouldn't exist and should never exist. I'm so encouraged to see Ontario and Minister Piccini's team taking meaningful steps to break down these barriers. When we talk about things like properly fitting safety gear or clean and accessible facilities, it's not just about comfort, it's about respect. Safety and creating workplaces that value every worker equally. These changes will not only make the industry safer, but also send a clear message that women belong here and are essential to this multi-billion-dollar industry. And just as important, the proposed parental leave for adoptive and intended parents recognizes that workers in the trades are also parents with families to care for. No one should have to choose between their career and their role as a parent. I know I didn't have to. These measures will help ensure that starting or growing a family doesn't mean stepping away from a career in the trades. This isn't just about addressing today's issues. challenges. It's about shaping the future of our trades. It's about shaping the future of our women and the girls that are growing up to know that they can be a skilled trades person just like myself. By creating spaces where women can thrive, we'll inspire more young women to see the trades as a place where they can build not just a career, but their life, independence, wealth. Together, we're making the industry stronger, safer, and more inclusive for everyone. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite up to the podium Zane, Baden, and Scotty, of course, from Conceivable Dreams. Thank you.
So today is a really exciting day. I want to thank Minister Piccini, Minister Williams, MPP Barnes for being here for this really exciting announcement. My name is Zane, this is my wife Baden, and my daughter Scotty. I'm the board chair of Conceivable Dreams. Conceivable Dreams is a patient advocacy group to help families struggling with fertility challenges. And we know this one firsthand as Scotty was born via a gestational surrogate just 16 months ago. So this announcement is personal for us, and I know it firsthand because I'm currently on parental leave with Scotty right now, and Baden and I had 16 weeks less leave than other families in Ontario. That first 15 weeks is considered maternity leave and went to our gestational surrogate, which left us with 15 weeks less time to bond with our child. And I apologize for whatever noises she makes. She is a baby. And so this announcement today is going to do so much good for the 700 or so families that grow via adoption and surrogacy every year in Ontario. There's just about a year ago, the federal government announced a new benefit to help families like ours. But as we know that they can only control about 10% of the workforce in federally regulated industries. So we need champions like Minister Piccini and the Government of Ontario to help with the 90% of the Canadian workforce to help bring in this leave so that we can access this new federal benefit whenever it comes.
I guess that means I speak now. This announcement helps families like ours to feel seen, heard, and supported in the way that we have not always historically been, and that means a world of difference for parents and for noisy children like this. We're no different than any other family, and this change really solidifies that for us, and we're so grateful.
So, thank you very much. We'll call up Hilary Brukenterrell to say a few words now.
It's a hard act to follow. Thank you, Minister Piccini. It's great to be here this morning in Etobicoke and to be here alongside Minister Williams and Parliamentary Assistant Patrice Barnes. My name is Hilary Buckenterrell, and I'm the Ontario Advocacy Manager at the Canadian Cancer Society. Today, I'm joined by my CCS colleague, Daniel Nowosowski, and our volunteer advocate, J. Nadia Headley. I would also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our partners in this advocacy work, some of whom are in the room today, including Daniel Corvino from MS Canada and Patrick Chohill from Crohn's and Colitis. Today, we are here to celebrate the announcement of the new unpaid job-protected leave for long-term illness under the Employment Standards Act. This leave allows Ontarians with serious medical conditions such as cancer to take up to 27 weeks of unpaid leave within a 52-week period, and ensures they have the flexibility on how they take the leave according to their treatment and recovery plans as supported by their healthcare practitioner. When you hear the words, "you have cancer," it's frightening, it's daunting, it's life-changing, and not just for you, but for your family, your friends, and everyone that will care for you. It means big changes in your life, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and not least of all, financially. We know that people with cancer often face a reduction in income and a rise in expenses. And we know MPPs hear every day from Ontarians struggling amid a cancer diagnosis or some other serious illness. Since the federal government extended the EI sickness benefits to 26 weeks in 2022, we have been advocating to provincial governments to align the corresponding unpaid job-protected leaves for people working in provincially regulated industries, to ensure they have a financial safety net through the EI sickness benefit. and the corresponding adequate time away from work for their treatment and recovery, with the assurance that their job will be there for them when they are ready to return. Through this work, we heard from many patients and clinicians who spoke about the fraught choice they've had to make between treatment and their jobs, sometimes with dire consequences, either for their health and their finances. And that's why we're here today, to ensure that no Ontarian has to choose between working and getting better. Nearly 96,000 people in Ontario were expected to be diagnosed with cancer in 2024 alone. And according to our recent special report on cancer prevalence, we know that over 627,000 Ontarians are estimated to be living with or beyond cancer. That's more than the population of Ontario communities like Burlington, Barrie, and Peterborough combined. It might come as a surprise to hear that nearly 40% of people diagnosed are between the ages of 20 and 64. If we do that math, that's over 38,000 people in Ontario this year where cancer will strike at a time when they are in the prime of their careers, or perhaps even preparing for retirement. It may strike at a time when they are working to support their families, building their future and their careers. They may be trying to save for their first home, support their kids, pay off debt, or just try to pay their bills month to month. With a growing population and studies across the world showing a surprising number of young adults being diagnosed with cancer in this age group, we can expect that that number will only increase. In Ontario, without this legislation, people with a serious medical condition, such as cancer, were only entitled to 3 days of unpaid job-protected leave. We all know that times are tough for a lot of Ontario families, and we're living through an affordability crisis. We hear that the rising cost of living dominates the conversation in our communities, in our workplaces, and at Queen's Park. So we can appreciate that figuring out how you will pay your bills, as well as cover the costs of cancer, for everything from take-home cancer medications and assistive products to medical travel, hospital parking, and home care, all while going through cancer treatment, adds enormous pressure to an already challenging time. Ontario's proposed legislation provides peace of mind for people with cancer, knowing that their job is waiting for them while they undergo treatment. One less thing to worry about. It also helps people remain attached to the workforce. Passing this legislation means they won't have to worry about writing cover letters and resumes while they finish their chemotherapy. We all know that this is a good thing for those living with a serious medical condition, and I'm confident that all parties will support this piece of the bill. I want to express our sincere thanks and gratitude to Minister Piccini and his team for working with the Canadian Cancer Society and our partners, starting with the announcement of this consultation last fall, and for bringing forward this incredibly important piece of legislation and working for Worker 6 tomorrow. We look forward to working with you in this continued positive collaboration, and we will push to see this important and compassionate leave passed as quickly as possible here in Ontario, as other provinces have recently done. Now, let's get it done. And I'd like to pass it over to J. Nadia Headley, volunteer advocate at the Canadian Cancer Society, to share her lived experience and highlight the importance of this legislation for those living with cancer. Nadia.
Cancer cells have been found in your lymph nodes. This is a statement that makes your body shake, your forehead sweat, your heart race. This statement is then followed by a long list of medical words that sound like pure confusion coming through static. In the midst of this panic, at the age of 30, with a 4-year-old daughter, the last thing I needed to worry about is whether or not I would have a job to return to after treatment. As a recent immigrant with high-level qualifications, all I wanted was to get back to something that felt like a normal life. All I wanted to do was to continue my nonprofit work to help youth in Mississauga and contribute meaningfully to my community and financially to my family. I think of friends who had to drive hours for treatment and spend a night every week in a hotel because they lived in a remote area in rural Ontario. I think of my friends who needed immediate intervention, and so they had no time to plan and to put their affairs in order before beginning treatment. We didn't plan to get cancer. We can't recover in 3 days, and we can't wait 13 weeks to start our treatment either. Thank you for hearing our stories throughout this process. Thank you for your hard work over the past year in developing this legislation so that our leave would be protected, our jobs, our sense of self, and our contribution kept intact, so that we have one less thing to worry about in the face of a serious medical condition. Congratulations on bringing Ontario forward on this issue. We have more work to do, but today we celebrate the win. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Minister Piccini, and our wonderful hosts here at the Humber Centre for Trades and Technology. I can't think of a better way to start my second day as CEO of Skilled Trades Ontario than being here for such an important announcement. Skilled trades have long been the backbone of Ontario's economy. The roads we travel on, the homes we live in, and the services that keep our communities thriving, none of it would exist without skilled trades professionals. But behind each skilled trades professional is someone balancing the demands of their work and their personal life. For women and parents in the trades, that balance can be especially tough. But no one should have to choose between being a great worker and being a great parent. I never had to make that choice, and nor should anyone else. And no one should feel unsafe or unwelcome on a job site because of their gender. That's why today's announcement is so important. It's about more than safety or policy. It's about respect. Respect for workers, respect for the value women bring to the trades, and respect for the idea that skilled trades should work for everyone, parents, women, and the next generation. On behalf of Skilled Trades Ontario, I am proud to stand in full support of these measures. I congratulate Minister Piccini and his entire team for your leadership on this important initiative. And I'm now pleased to turn it over to Patrice Barnes, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. This is such an important day. I am so thrilled when we think about the advocacy and the meetings that we've had with our Cancer Society, with MS, with Crohn's disease. We know that an economy that does not work for women does not work at all. The proposals we have shared are more than just about supporting women. They're about forging a stronger, more equitable Ontario for everyone. Expanding parental leave to include adoption and surrogacy, providing job protective leave for serious illnesses, and ensuring women in the trades have access to proper fitting PPE are actions that break down the barrier that have held women back for too long. These measures are about building a workforce where no one is left behind. When women succeed, families prosper, communities flourish, and Ontario becomes a place where everyone can thrive. Our government is committed to ensuring every Ontarian has the support and the opportunity to build a future here, no matter their gender. We will continue to tear down the barriers standing in the way of workers, families, because when we empower women, we empower everyone. Thank you again for being here today, and this is such a great day for everyone. And I'll call Minister Piccini back to the meeting.
We will now open up the floor for media Q&A. As a reminder, please state your name and the name of your outlet. One question, one follow-up. First, media.
Hi, good morning. Michael Cole on behalf of Lane Harrison, CBC News in Toronto. First question. United States President-elect Donald Trump says he won't impose 25% tariffs on Canada if the country can't solve immigration issues between Canada and the U.S. As Immigration Minister, what is your response to this?
Yeah, we've been taking measures in Ontario. We have a blueprint for success with our Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. We're getting tougher on bad actors like immigration consultants that have exploited people, and we've called on the federal government to restore integrity to our broken immigration system. We had once consensus that was across all political stripes. As a grandson of an immigrant who came here, and now I stand before you as minister, I mean, that's the opportunity. But that has been strained and shattered under this Prime Minister. And so we've called on him to restore integrity to the system. The measures on tariffs deeply concern me, deeply concern the Premier. We're calling for a Canada, America, Can-Am, Am-Can, whatever you want to call it, approach to protect workers like the skilled tradesmen and women in the automotive sector where parts go back and forth, sometimes 6-7 times. So.
And as a follow-up, as Labour Minister, what concerns do you have about these for Ontario jobs?
Sorry?
As Labour Minister, what concerns do you have about the tariffs and what they could mean for jobs?
Yeah, my concerns, go out to skilled tradesmen and women. We're a great continent. Canada and the U.S. are our oldest ally. We share common values, a common, respect for democracy, for our institutions, and a deeply close relationship, except in hockey. And, I think that for the workers, like the Unifor workers that exist on both sides, of the border, for our unions that, again, Teamsters bringing parts back and forth, both sides of the border, this matters for workers. Who will touch a part that their brothers and sisters in the United States will touch the same part, and it'll come back and it'll be in the new GM that you're driving, Dodge, you name it. So I hope and am confident that if the Prime Minister leans on leaders like Premier Ford, who's established remarkably close relationships with governors in the United States, that President-elect Trump will see that there's not too much difference between a worker on the floor of an automotive plant in Michigan and one on the floor of a plant in Windsor, and that our common destiny is united when we're supporting those workers and working together. And I don't think tariffing those parts will be of benefit to either worker.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, Chris Hanna, Globe and Mail. I wanted to ask a question about the EI benefit that you're announcing today for families. So that follows other recent funding the Ontario government announced on fertility treatment. I was kind of wondering, big picture, if you could kind of explain why the Ontario government's kind of interested in supporting more families that are going through fertility treatment.
Well, I think you heard from far more powerful words than mine from a family here today, but I think if I'm to sort of echo and champion their voice, it would be that, these are, having a family is one of the biggest decisions any, couple makes in their life. And, while I myself just have a fur family, I know my wife and I would love to have kids. And I've spoken to so many constituents, because it's not about me or really anyone in particular. It's about the voices we hear in Ontario, and those who've said that, if they're unable to conceive themselves, that through organizations like Conceivable Dreams, through surrogacy, through adoption, you can find your family and complete your family. And so supporting those families, making sure that they don't have to balance. No one, as I said, should have to choose between their job and being a worker and being a parent. And so providing those supports, recognizing that families come in all shapes and sizes, and that it might be easier for one than the next to start a family, is important. And it's important that our government builds family-friendly policies to support families in Ontario, so that we can be, as you heard from all the speakers, the core of our message, the best place to live, work, and raise a family.
And so the federal government announced a benefit like this first, and now you are as well. Are you hoping other provinces follow suit? Yeah,
we've brought these measures in line with our Employment Standards Act and making sure that we're in line with the EI entitlements for leave, both on critical illness, you heard, for episodic. I mean, episodic illnesses, critical illnesses are a big piece. So aligning that with federal EI benefits as well as for adoptive and surrogate parents has been a big priority. And as is the case with many of the measures we take with Occupational Health and Safety, Employment Standards Act, I fully suspect a number of other provinces will follow Ontario's lead. I don't think we get enough credit in our nation. Ontario often is a first mover on a lot of the PPE measures, Occupational Health and Safety Act, on standards for sanitary standards on the workplace. Ontario leads Canada, and so I fully suspect we'll see other provinces follow suit.
Next question.
I'll get some more in question period, I'm sure, so thank you. Thank you all for being here.
As that concludes today's announcement, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Have a great day.